This week's Faith in Focus comes from Mark 5, verses 28 if is the main verse, but I'll read from like verse 24 to 28 to kind of give a better understanding. And in order to give a little bit more context, this all takes place around the time where Jesus was walking around with the disciples and he was teaching on the parables and doing different healings and things of that nature. But in this particular text, he was in a crowd of people, and when he was in this crowd of people, and this woman reached out and touched him, and so we know it as the woman with the issue of blood. So let's just get into it. Verse 24, it says, "And Jesus went with him, and a great crowd kept following him and pressed him from all sides. And there was a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, and who had endured much suffering under the hands of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but instead grew worse. She heard the reports concerning Jesus, and she came up behind him in the throng and touched his garment." Verse 28, which is the main verse that I want to focus on. "And she kept saying, 'If only I touch his garments, I shall be restored to health.'" So verse 27 and verse 28 were really what was the key points for me, because it said that she heard the reports. So she didn't really know Jesus. She wasn't really a follower of him. She was just somebody that heard what he was doing. And then verse 28, it says that in her mind, she said, "If I touch his garments." So for her, it wasn't really even a thing of saying, "If I touch Jesus," like if I touch his hand, if I touch his feet, if I see him. She simply said, "If I touch his garment." Now, what is the significance of his garment? His garment is the thing that's attached to him. So when most people talk about this, they talk about her faith. So for me, when I was reading it, I was looking more so from the aspect of her position and proximity. She realized that she had to get into a certain proximity, a certain distance to Jesus, to then get herself in position to be able to touch his hem, the thing that was connected to him, right? And so if she was able to touch the thing that was connected to him, then from that aspect, her faith was like she was going to be made whole. She was going to be cured of the very thing that nobody else could cure her from. So for me, being a visual person, this little piping here is what they use for plumbing, and it's called a connector. So, and it has a little purple stuff in it where they connect the two pipes together. So you have one pipe where you have water flowing through, and if you wanted to connect to something else, you use this connector. So when I read this, I thought about the connector and the garment being the connector. Now, also because I'm a visual person, like this is what I use in Christmas time. You know, this is my little plug I put into the socket, and then I put 3 other plugs into it, and it allows me to extend out. This is also a connector. So there are different types of connector, but they're all attached to something. And so, like this connector, this was the garment that Christ was wearing, and it connected to Christ. So for her, it was, if I can get attached to this end of the connector, if I can touch his garment, then I am then connected to Christ, because this is the conduit. Then his healing power will flow through, and I can be healed simply through the connection, through the garment. And so because of that, and because of the garment, my thing was, for us, we have to, one, put ourselves in a position to where we are in proximity, we're in close distance with Christ. So that is putting ourselves in position to be in a close proximity for him to do what he needs or wants to do for us. But also the flip side is that we also have to be that conduit. We have to be that connector. We got to be that thing that allows him to flow through us in order to be somebody else's healing, somebody else's blessing, whether that's financial, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, we have to be in position. And it's us because, like the woman with the issue of blood, she wasn't a follower. She was someone that just heard about God. So as us being children of God, we have to be able to lead followers, people that don't know Christ, to him, because they don't understand the gospels and the mysteries, and his word is for us to then break it down and explain it. But once again, if we aren't that conduit, if we aren't that connection piece, and we aren't in position and proximity, then we aren't able to accomplish what he's created or what he desires for us to do. So that was my take on Mark 5, verses 28, and what I got out of it, out of the woman with the issue of blood. And there was so much more in it that I think next week I just want to touch on it a little bit more. But I know I'm on limited time. So thank you for joining in this week on our Faith in Focus. Be blessed. Share it with somebody if you were blessed. Let us know what you got from it.